Hello, my friends. It is day 290, and we're reading Matthew chapter 14, Mark chapter 6, and Luke chapter 9. But before we get into our recap for today, I hope you find the Bible reading program helpful and enjoyable. If you have not yet participated in the group, you can check out the description box below, and there you will find a link that will take you directly to the YouVersion Bible app, where you can join a number of people who are reading the Bible and sharing their thoughts about what they're learning. Very excited about the Word of God, about this point that we made it to, and we have just a little bit more time left to end the year, just less than a month and a half. So uh, we're almost there, and congratulations to you all for sticking through it. So let's see here. Actually, it's a little more than a month and a half, I think. I don't know, but we have just a little bit of time. Just almost 2 months and a half. So let's look at what we read today. We were all over the place. Matthew 14, Luke chapter 9, Mark chapter 6, and we were just kind of everywhere. One of the things that we see is how the pressure is piling up against the people of God. One of the things we've noticed is the hostility that they're receiving and experiencing as a result of individuals like Herod, which, by the way, he was probably a friend of this little new movement. At least from the sake of John the Baptist, he seemingly liked him, liked being in his presence, just thinking and musing over different ideas. However, John the Baptist created a very I won't say terrible relationship, but he was not liked and not appreciated by Herod's wife, Herodias. And through the daughter of Herodias, John the Baptist was obviously martyred. He was killed. But when we look at all the things that we read today, whether it was Jesus performing all these incredible miracles, feeding the 5,000, walking on water, irregardless of what that is, what we read rather, one of the things I want to draw attention to, the thing that stood out to me the most, was in Luke chapter 9. And in Luke chapter 9, we found Jesus participating in a transfiguration. Okay, and this validation, if you will, this confirmation of Jesus's origin, I won't say origin, his essence, his relationship, his purpose is all in this portion. So Peter, James, and John are there to kind of see all of this unfold. And in their mind, as he's talking to Moses, who would have been the lawbringer or the lawgiver, and Elijah, who would have been, if you will, the prophet of prophets, the teacher of all prophets, they were wanting to set up these booths, if you will, in reverence of these three men. But the thing that was interesting about me is that, and it's the way the New Living Translation describes it in verse 31, they saw this glorious sight and they were speaking about Jesus's exodus from this world, which was about to be fulfilled in Jerusalem. Now, the thing that's so interesting is not just them talking about his departure. They could have said that, but I love the way the New Living Translation refers to it as an exodus. And what it implies is that Jesus' ascension was his way of getting out of this sort of wilderness experience. Now, we do know Jesus embodied that reality in his time in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. But when Jesus leaves the earth, is ascended into the heavens, it is described here as an exodus. And the reason that is important is because the undertones seemingly implies that, yes, Jesus must have been going through a sort of a wilderness experience, being separated from the Father, but he's about to enter into a sort of promised land, a rest, where he can cease from his labors and his works and receive the reward of his faithfulness. And so the reason I bring that up is because, remember, one of the things that I've often mentioned lately, especially since we're now in the New Testament, is how much this year's reading has informed my understanding of the New Testament by interpreting it in light of or in lieu of the Old Testament, right? So like when I read these kinds of words I cannot help, like when I read the word Exodus, I cannot help but to think about Egypt. And I cannot help but to imagine that they were not just simply focused on the bondage, but they saw something in that entire experience that conveys what Jesus was personally going through as he did the things he did to save our souls. So that was just very powerful. Another thing is just the way in which Jesus demands complete commitment and loyalty and um, service and faithfulness to him. In Luke chapter 9, verse 23, he says, if any of you wants to be my follower, and you must give up your own way, take up your cross daily and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, he says, you will save it. Now, this is just, to me, a very important, fundamental discipline of being a Christian. It's that idea of losing your life so you can gain it. It's the idea of not being able to gain a life outside of Christ or have life outside of Christ. And to me, that is just so powerful of a motif, one that cannot simply be done or committed by words only. Like we can't simply say, oh, well, I take up my cross and I follow Jesus daily, right? Or I'm giving up my life. Like those are very cute words. But when it comes down to actually having to do this and embody this principle as a way of living, you find out that it's a lot more difficult than you would assume. But these are the things that Jesus called his disciples to, and he's calling us to the same things today. So we have to, at some point, we have to understand and discern even maybe what does that look like and how do we embody these sorts of principles. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave your comments in the comment box below, and we'd be more than happy to hopefully engage in some sort of conversation. But until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. God bless. And remember, live by the word.